everything. We don't tell them. As quite honestly, I don't like talk about me. I had a cousin who was like 7'2", man, got a full scholarship to West Virginia. He's from a little town in Williamsburg.
Wow.
Got a full scholarship to West Virginia. Got to West Virginia. His second game, he blew his knee out.
Wow.
Can you imagine being 7'2", working in a coal mine?
That's right. Wow.
But they did not say to him, be a professional something and play ball part-time.
It is.
So and our coaches, they pick up right where the parent, they lead right from the parent. You don't hear coaches talking about, well, listen, you want to go to school. If you get a scholarship, you need to be thinking about going into this profession. That's not what they do. They say you need to try hard when you hit that school, hit that field. This is a societal problem, but more so in our culture, because for some reason, and I know the reason, we as a people think all our children are good for is being gladiators.
Sure.
We think that's all that they can do. That is a problem. We need our coaches, our parents. They need to talk to some of these old timers who would give back every dime they've made if they could simply just bounce their grandchild from one knee to the other without being in excruciating pain. There was one football player, and I don't do sports, but I don't know who he was. He was a young guy who about 3 or 4 months ago, he retired. He said, I'm not going to do it. I'm done with this. He left the NFL and all the money because he did not want his head knocked loose. But we don't teach our children that. So for me, I do try to take them away as much as possible from that ball game to the classroom. But it's a fight because I've got teachers who will try to give them passing grades just so they can go to practice. So it doesn't stop once they get to me. If they get a B in algebra, and I know good and well you couldn't pass algebra if you had Albert Einstein hanging over your shoulder. I've been, and our program is a total program, Chief. Then that I go to the school and I will ask the teacher, you tell me how he passed algebra. And you'll find some teachers who'll tell you, well, the coach, I had a conversation with him. He said he's going to get him mentoring and tutoring. No, he's not. But lady, you got a job to do. So it's a lot bigger. So when you see this young boy who picks up a chair and starts swinging after he's won the game, that's who he has become. Because that's who we've told him he is. That is a big, big problem. So we do try to convert them, if you will, but it is not an easy thing to do. Well, it just isn't. These mothers, they believe if their son can get to the NFL or pro ball, he can buy me a new house. I can be living like Michael Jordan's parents. See, there's a lot of selfishness that goes into this also. A whole lot of it.
A whole lot. And Phil, you were right. We're going to get to some of that on the other side. We're going to take it to break, and we're going to think about all the stuff that you said, one, and two, get to that point about, the selfishness that's in there, as well as, what do we do for solutions? Where do we go from here? We're talking about this, and we'll get to that on the other side of the break. Stay with us.
This is Straight No Chaser Talk Radio. We're just getting started. Straight No Chaser Talk Radio.
He's drinking that with no chaser.
Today in school, I learned a lot. In chemistry, I learned that no one likes me. In English, I learned that I'm disgusting. And in physics, I learned that I'm a loser.
Today in school,
I learned that I'm ugly and useless. And in gym, I learned that I'm pathetic and a joke. In history, I learned that I'm trash.
Today in school, I learned that I have no friends. In English, I learned that I make people sick. And at lunch, I learned that I sit on my own because I smell. In chemistry, I learned that no one likes me.
In biology, I learned that I'm fat and stupid. And in math, I learned that I'm trash.
The only thing I didn't learn in school today?
The only thing I didn't learn today.
The only thing I didn't learn
is why no one ever helps.
Kids witness bullying every day. They want to help, but they don't know how. Teach them how to stop bullying and be more than a bystander at stopbullying.gov. A message from the Ad Council.
The path to happiness is not the easy one, but taking drugs will not make it easier. Many people got lost and end up losing their life to drugs. If you or anyone that you know is within that path, don't be afraid to seek for help. Visit www.adk.gov.my for information related to drug abuse. So, know your path. This message is brought to you by the National Anti-Drugs Agency.
In our world, in our country, and in our cities, on our streets, in the alleys behind our homes, there are orphans, foster and homeless children who are the victims of child abuse and neglect. Hello, I'm Malcolm McDowell. Now, 80% of these children will end up homeless, and 60% will end up in prison without our help. They're good kids with bad parents, or no parents at all. They feel helpless, unloved, and full of despair. Oftentimes thrust into a world where dangerous influences lurk to prey upon their innocence. Safety Harbor Kids has developed a solution to help these children.
Safety Harbor Kids helped me get a job.
Safety Harbor Kids let me know someone cares.
Safety Harbor Kids helped me go to college.
Help change your child's life forever by supporting safetyharborkids.org today.
Folks, we are back. Thank you for listening to us here on Straight No Chaser. And Chief and I have been getting some good schooling here from Phil. We were talking about, we were using as a catalyst was the basketball game, the college basketball game. Who was that again? Kansas and Kansas State.
Yes, sir.
Who you all, if you've watched anything, any clip of any sports, or you've seen a brawl, there was just a whole bunch of craziness. So we kind of we use that as a launching pad to kind of talk about some of the things that have been going on and where that comes from. And we had gotten to the point where we were just beginning to address some of the selfishness that goes into it, from the parent standpoint. The parent is so hell bent on getting their kid, thinking that this is no longer their child. This is their meal ticket. This child and their talent is going to get them that house. And since I've been down south, I've noticed, and maybe they did it, when I was up north and I wasn't paying that much attention to it, but this thing where they were holding kids back, and it wasn't because the child wasn't doing well academically. They were fair students to good, and great students with good grades who, their grades were better than their skill, actually, in a lot of cases, to tell you the truth, in terms of their athletic skill and their athletic prowess. But their parents were like, no, we're going to hold them back so, maybe they can grow a little more and maybe get more playing time. And I'm like, what? I just couldn't figure it out. I thought it was the craziest thing to kind of hold a child back who was doing well in school. At least okay. I mean, maybe a little bit of, tutoring here or there, with the hope that they would, be able to make it at some point, get more playing time, be seen by a scout, and be able to get into college. When I'm like, well, if you put the same amount of energy and time and focus that you're putting into their basketball or football or whatever the sport is,
Well, you know, it's interesting you say that, then bad, because my parents were guilty of that. You know, my mom held me back because I was double Dutch champion.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, and you see where you ended up. What good did that do? Held you back because you were double Dutch champion. I was waiting to hear that. So how did it go? Did you make it to the state championship or what?
No, I just missed it, man. I just missed it.
Just missed it.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. I think they were making that an Olympic sport at some point. Where are you in the I'm gonna get you sucker Olympics?
Well, let me tell you this, and so giving the parents some credit, I guess. I have had the experience with parents who really wanted their child to go to college, but knew the reality was they would never be able to afford it. And so playing sports was a possibility that they could not offer the child. And so in some cases, if you can give it some legitimacy, the parents push the child to play sports with hope that they would get a scholarship and be able to go on to college. Now, there are those genuine cases, there are. But I think that the cases of the parents who want to be able to tell their friends, coworkers, my child is a star,
right,
far outweighs those legitimate cases, if you will. Now, with the legitimate cases, seen a lot of sadness there because some of the children who play sports, they know that the hope and dream of grandma is that they will be able to go to college, and when they don't play well enough to get a scholarship, that too can turn into a big problem. I've had children who have threatened to drop out of school because they knew they simply were not that good on the playing field and they were not going to be able to fulfill the dream of their parents or grandparents. So there was a backfire here, if you would. And we do try to step in that gap because one of my Saturday staffers is a sports former college ball player, and he does work hard with those to tell them in a very subtle way, you're really not that good at it. And so the chances of you getting that full scholarship, we come out better trying to find you some money from somewhere else. So you don't want to kill their dream of going on to school, of going on to college, but you do want to let them know that there is another way to do this. Now, a lot of our parents are not aware of that. Too many of them are not. And so in that aspect, you have to be careful that you don't kill a legitimate dream, if you will, and that you find a way to replace that need for a sports scholarship with an academic scholarship or some other funding. And that's very, very doable. But for the parent, the selfish part, I know mothers who just simply like talking about, I'm going to see my son play ball Friday night because he's the star. I mean, that's what they live and breathe. They don't really, for them, it's just to be able to talk, to sit in their hair salon and talk about their son, the golden child. Now, in some fairness, we all want to talk about our children when we can, but what the troubling part becomes is when your child is not doing well academically, as I said earlier, and too many emphasis are put on sports and not on academics.
Right.
So it's a very difficult balancing game, where is the resolve? How do you find solutions for it? I will